Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and on today's show, we're going to be looking at the latest trending trade rumors around Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, because since the reports have come out, there have been people literally dropping deuces in their shorts. Now, this is the type of show which is the perfect example of why y'all should follow me on Twitter. I've already talked about this, and I've thrown it out there, but I've had enough people DM me on social media asking, hey, can you talk about the latest? Follow me on Twitter right now at Mitchell Renz 365 to stay up on everything that you need to know about the Raiders. So there was a tweet that came out from Dov Kleiman, which I really think is the one that got the rumors started. Teams around the league expect the Raiders to aggressively tweak their roster. That includes Josh McDaniels and general manager Dave Ziegler getting their own guys while improving from the team's veterans. And NFL teams will keep an eye on Darren Waller and wide receiver Hunter Renfrow. This is the exact quote from Fowler's article that Dov is referencing here. Here we go. Meanwhile, in Vegas, I have talked to a few people around the league who expect Coach Josh McDaniels and General Manager Dave Ziegler to continue to aggressively tweaking the roster. McDaniels is a big on culture fits and will want his own guys. Teams will be keeping an eye on tight end Darren Waller and wide receiver Hunter Renfrow in that process. When everybody saw this, I think people took what Dov had to say and be like, oh my gosh, Raiders are going to trade away Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, which when I read it, this isn't a Raiders are looking to trade Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow tweet. It's NFL teams will keep an eye on those players. And I do think that there is a difference. It's literally their job to do that. So I want to know from you guys, from videos that you've seen, reports out there, give me a percentage chance that the Raiders try to trade away Waller and Renfrow. If you're like, Mitch, no chance. Cool. Put 0. If you think that there is a 10% chance, cool. I want to know what you guys are thinking. The chances are that the Raiders try to trade away Waller and Hunter Renfrow. For me, and I'm going to sit up here very confidently and say, I don't believe that they move on from either of these two guys. It doesn't make sense. I will say that 95% chance both of these players are on the Raiders roster next year. Why? They need to win. If you don't win this year, you're not going to have a job next year. And you can say what you want about both of these guys. They both help the Raiders win. But since this is a trade video, I do want to give you more information on what it would cost to trade Waller, what it would cost to trade Renfrow, because after all, I do want to try to educate some people out there. So in terms of Darren Waller, plenty of teams will be interested. Is he a top 3 tight end in the NFL still? Probably not after the injuries. 100% healthy? I do think he's still in that realm. Remember, last year at the NFL trade deadline, he was linked to the Green Bay Packers. Here's the thing, though. Trading Waller would save the Raiders $11.4 million in 2023. That's going to be intriguing for the Raiders, especially if they feel like that they can upgrade on the defensive side of the football. Coming off a year where he struggled. A lot of injuries, a lot of frustrations. Didn't seem like he was that good of a fit in the offense. 28 catches, 388 yards, 3 touchdowns. One of the biggest reasons why, though, I'm like, you can't move on from Waller. This is an offense that is predicated on using the tight end position. And Foster Moreau, free agent. Jesper Horsted, restricted free agent. Don't call me crazy. I don't really want to roll with Cole Fotheringham out there on the field as my number 1 tight end. And a lot of y'all are like, who the hell is Cole Fotheringham? Exactly. I do think, though, trading Waller right now doesn't make sense for the Raiders. It doesn't make sense. And no matter how you look at it, I've been up here all the time talking about Gronk Groovers. It doesn't make sense moving on from him. I will say, though, a Waller trade next year, that to me is a lot more possible, especially if Waller struggles, if the Raiders struggle, if you're bringing a new head coach. If you're bringing a new head coach, I would almost guarantee Waller's gone. Why? His final 3 years of his contract, $0 million in guaranteed money. He's a great tight end, but if you're not winning football games, I'm not paying a tight end $12 million a year, especially when he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So if we talked about Waller, let's go talk about Hunter Renfrow now. He signed a contract extension last offseason as well, 2 years, $32 million. And the numbers below are involving a trade, because I do think when you talk about a trade for Renfrow, it's very different. If you were to trade him before June 1st, the Raiders would save $5.8 million, but it would be a $7.3 million dead cap hit. But look at the bottom one. Post June 1st, the Raiders would save $11.3 million, and it would be a dead cap hit of $1.8. That is why I believe if the Raiders were to move on from Renfrow, it would be post June 1st. And why would you do it? Maybe they don't think he's a good fit. I disagree with that. I think the Raiders and a lot of people out there can make all the jokes they want about Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. Hell, I look like I could be a slot receiver in Josh McDaniels' offense. And he wasn't all that good last year. He still offers you some special teams ability. But the issue is, if you move on from Renfrow, Matt Collins, what happens if you don't get him back? I love Devontae Adams, and he's probably the best receiver in football. But besides him, nobody else is really going. Sure, I made the joke that Tyler Johnson now has been signed to a futures contract, and he's got 48 grabs, 549 yards, and 2 touchdowns with Brady in his career. But let's be real. Nobody wants to come to this offense if there's no Matt Collins, no Hunter Renfrow, if it's just Devontae Adams. Can you add to it? Yes, absolutely. So in terms of the Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow trade, I said this out on Twitter, which again, this is why I want you guys to follow me, because I can't always make shows around everything, but I will give my 2 cents on Twitter. I think in order to trade Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow, it would have to be a too good to be true type of offer. NFL teams always look and always listen in every offseason. It's their job. I will say, though, Renfrow getting moved is more likely than Waller, but hey, that's just my opinion. So, what about y'all? Who is the more likely player to get traded? You got to pick one. It's the way that we do this show. I want to have good conversation about top trending topics. That's what I like to do. So, type in 83 for Waller, type a 13 for Hunter Renfrow. The reason why I will continue to type my 13 is because I believe if you were to get 32 NFL GMs together and say, hey, which player is more easily replaceable, Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow? I would imagine most people would say, yeah, you know what? It is probably Hunter Renfrow. Also, the way when you look at the contracts, I think if the Raiders don't get certain pieces, or if they do, well then having him being able to be moved after June 1st does make things a little bit more flexible. So I was told by a source, and again, I grew up in the East Coast, lived in Boston for a little bit. One of my really good friends is tied well, pretty connected with New England. He said that the Patriots are a team to really watch out for Renfrow. Remember when I always say, smoke, fire. Thought it was funny. Then this morning, I go on the internet and I see Nesson out there talking about New England connected with Renfrow. This is what they had to say. New England's financial commitment to Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith likely precludes them from a trade for Waller, who's both expensive and injury-prone. A deal for Renfrow would make a lot of sense. The Patriots entered the offseason loaded with question marks at receiver, Nelson Aguilar, and slot receiver Jacoby Myers. Both are free agents, and Kendrick Bourne popped up in a trade rumor throughout the season. Tyquan Thornton remains young and unproven, and Devontae Parker has established durability concerns. Plus, the arrival of Bill O'Brien as New England's next offensive coordinator makes it fair to wonder whether Bill Belichick will abandon the failed offensive scheme from their last season and go to a traditional Patriots offense. I mean, we got to be able to face the facts here. If New England wanted to make a trade with the Raiders, they probably would. Why? Because of the connections. The Raiders will always listen to offers. It is their job. And if they got an insane trade, I would want them to do it. It would have to be in the benefit of the Raiders, even though it would be moving on from 13 and 83. But here's the real fact. I don't see the Raiders trading away Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow. Before I go, thank you all for tuning in, as always, to the Raiders Report. Friendly reminder, Jeremy Jugs and I, we're going to be live this weekend doing watch parties for both the NFC and AFC championship games, so I hope to see you there.